So today is Monday, November 6th, 2023. I'm at the lake house and I thought I would just take a walk up the driveway and point out a few things. Help me remember them next spring when everything leaves out and I can't see as much. So there's the shed behind me. We used to call it the Smurf Shack because it looked like Smurf should come running out of it at any time. So we'll head on up the driveway and I'll point some things out. Previous owner put in a set of stairs. They kind of go up to the front porch on the house over there. Not exactly sure why, but they did have another concrete set of stairs that they poured themselves here. And my burn pit, that used to be a cherry tree. Next to it was a cottonwood, and I believe they had a swing in between the trees because the trees had brackets on them. Anyway, a storm took them down. Here's Trudy, the triple tree, what's left of her. That was a 3 oak trees that grew together. The stump was about 5 feet across when they got it cut down, and it was about 130 feet tall. So we're going around the big curve. This curve didn't even exist till we took that tree out. My brother-in-law kind of built it for me with a skid steer. Was able to drag gravel down the driveway and widen up that curve. You used to have to drive into the hillside right over there and then do a 90-degree turn to get around that tree. So we had a bunch of stuff blow down in the driveway. A bunch of it's still here. That's actually on the neighbor's property. But the top of that tree blew down and blocked my driveway right here. And we had to get a skid steer to clear it. There was so much debris in there. Then that tree fell. I call that tree 1 because that fell in the yard. The tip of the tree was right about over there. The cottonwood fell, landed on tree 1, so I had a huge fire pile over there for about 2 years till I got it all cleaned up. And that's what's left of tree 1, and it's way too big for me to move with the 24 horsepower tractor. So I'm gonna have to get my chainsaws and do a little whittling on it, make it a lot smaller. I got this over here I can get. I made an entrance here to get up into this side of the property. This is all our property up in here, but we had really no access to it until I moved all the rocks. The lady that lived here before us put rocks along the driveway all the way up. It looks really nice when the leaves are cleaned out. I've been after them for a few days, but they're blowing back in about as fast as I can move them. But you head up the driveway, we got a nice big valley down in there. There's a deer trail right here where these leaves are. There's 3 or 4 deer trails where they cut through our property. We get them so frequently that we've started to name a few of them. We have one with a bad right rear leg. I call her Hopalong. She was here this morning down by the boathouse with a couple fawns eating grass. There's more of our property on the right side of the driveway. Up over that hill is the road. And the previous owner, or somebody, I figure the lady must have had an uncle that worked for the township or road commission. They put this guardrail in along the valley. And we've just left it, but it's starting to fall down, so that's a project that's getting put on the list. We're going to probably take it out, do some kind of a fence or something to keep anybody from sliding over the edge in the winter, but the guardrail seems to make some people think this is a road. We occasionally get some trespassers. Top of the driveway's concrete, and it was leaf-free yesterday. But unfortunately, the first week in November in Michigan is leaf season. So I ground all of them up. I blew them all off with the leaf blower. I had this all cleared, looking nice, about 6 o'clock last night. There's a look down into the valley. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one lone evergreen tree down in there. Right there. That you can actually see all winter long. I'd like to be able to get in there and throw some lights on that and power them somehow. Just because it's there, no other reason. And then where the concrete ends, they put in these runners, I guess to help get up the driveway. My truck is 4-wheel drive, and I have BF Goodrich all-terrain tires on it, and I have not had any problems ever, other than dump trucks going up and down the road all day. But I don't have any trouble getting up and down this driveway in any of the winter conditions I've seen so far. We had one trip over here where everybody was having a hard time getting up the driveway, and I went right up and down it towing a trailer. So a stock truck with great tires is my choice for winter. So the rock wall does look pretty cool coming down the driveway. And then they put these reflectors along this side, I guess, to let the lady know not to get over too much further, maybe where to plow. Who knows? We never actually met the seller. We didn't get any information. But this was all free of leaves at 6 o'clock last night. And then the wind picked up. I got these pretty massive oak trees here on the property. That one, the top's already blown down. I've already cut it up and burned it. This one's going to have to go if it doesn't fall on its own. Kind of a weird crotch in this tree. It's like they grew together and then gave up, went their own separate ways. But we've got a nice mix. We've got oak, cherry, maple, cottonwood, dogwood, some evergreens, ash. You know, Southwest Michigan's good for trees. This one right here in the middle is dead. I got to get that down. This other one's leaning on it, so I'm not sure what that means. If I cut the dead one off, that one may go too. That's an oak. Still got, no? Yeah, that's an oak. There's so many of them you can't hardly tell. There's maple leaves up there and there's oak leaves. We got a lot of bright yellow. I think that's sugar maple. I'm not sure. Haven't learned my trees as well as I should. There used to be a lot of deadfall in this valley. I got in there with the tractor and I've cleaned up a lot of it. Bunch more to go, but there's a pile of logs down there. Right about there. That's all that's left from the first batch that I cut up. I've been burning it. And there's a big chunk of that tree down there against those that I got to get out of there. That's so rotten it may just fall apart. This is what drives me crazy, is all the picker bushes. Those things have thorns on them, and they hurt really bad when you go by on the lawnmower and you're not paying attention. But the property line is right about under that tree right there. In fact, somewhere on that tree, oh, there's one of the markers for the property line under the tree. And there's another one right there at the end of the tree. And then they go up the hill, and I'd almost like to take the driveway up this way, because where it comes out up there where the concrete is, there's a curve on the road, and it's a 40-mile-an-hour curve, and everything, including those big dump trucks, comes around there about 50 or 60 miles an hour. And about every other time we come here, there's a fresh set of skid marks where somebody came around that curve and had to whoa it up real quick because one of the neighbors was pulling out of their driveway. So if I can get that cherry stump burned up right there, then I can push all that dirt back in that hole and get my yard back. Taken out a lot of trees in here so far. That little ash is going to go. I've already skinned the bark off of it a bunch of times with the tractor. It's in the way. Got to get tree 1 cut up, and then I can get into the woods from this side. And this right in here we call concrete row. Somebody buried a bunch of broken concrete in there, and it used to go all the way down here and then make a 90-degree turn and go that way in front of that evergreen tree. And I've dug all that up so far, and I'm all the way up to here where the stumps are. So I got to go from there to there, and I'm done. But that's a lot of digging. And then there's loading it up and hauling it off. We're trying to buy a dump trailer if we could find any place that would actually call me back or return my email. I can't believe it's this hard to give people money, but it is. So that's it. They had railroad ties along here. They're all covered in moss now, and this used to have a bunch of evergreens. They've all died off except for these 2, and unfortunately that one right there is going to go when I cut this big oak down, because it's going to fall right on it. So 2 trees for the price of 1 on that one. I'll get rid of the pine before I drop the oak, but it's all rotten on the back side. That's not going to do well for very long. And it's close proximity to the propane tank. So is this one, and it's probably a little worse off on the bottom, I think. And the top of that actually broke off and was hanging on that tree. And my brother-in-law came out with his Super Duty, and we got a rope on it, or strap. Took a couple hours to get a strap on it. There goes the mailman. Once we did, he was able to get out in the yard here and pull that thing down. And it landed on the ground in the driveway, completely missed the tank. We cut it up and burned it. So there was another dead tree right over there. He and I cut that one down. We actually filmed ourselves. Took 17 minutes to cut it down, chop it up, get it all on the burn pile, clean the yard up completely. I really wish they all went that quickly, but they do not. Especially the big ones like tree 1 over there. That's going to take a lot of cutting to get that where I can move it with a 24 horsepower tractor. And this little guy is one of our Colorado blue spruce. We bought a dozen. He's the only sole survivor, and he's not in jail or anything. I just put that around him so the deer wouldn't eat him. From what I understand, they like those little evergreens. It's like a mint to them or something. I catch them over here sleeping underneath this one every once in a while. So that's the yard. That concrete came all the way over here, came all the way out here, and then went that way, connected up with the rest of it. What a mess that was. And then we had a big spot here. We had a big pile of concrete. Once we got it all cleaned up and off the property, there was no grass here, so that's where I put my wood pile. So hopefully, we got a stove in the house. Hopefully we can heat with some of this stuff that's falling down and I'm having to cut up. There's my splitter. I call it the Franken splitter because it's just made up of a bunch of scavenged parts. And then of course my little shooting range. You can't really see very well, but a couple targets there, and I found a washer lid over by the boathouse. Figured I'd shoot a full hole before I got rid of it. And then I got centerfire handgun target there. Here's one of those self-healing birds I shot the counterweight off of, so he hangs upside down. Spinner target, more spinners, a popper, and a dueling tree. So, good way to kill a little time in the afternoons around here. So that's it. Just looking for something to do and thought I'd record this, see what it looks like now. That way, when there's snow up to your ankles or up to your knees, you can remember what it looks like in the fall.